Before we jump into today's report, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. The Washington Commanders are constantly looking for ways to improve, strengthen every position group, and build a roster capable of competing for championships. As training camp continues and the regular season approaches, every practice, every snap, and every decision matters. And today, one comment from Jaden Daniels may have revealed the biggest concern facing Washington heading into the 2026 season. Commanders fans, if you want the official Washington Commanders store, the link is in the description and in the comment. Tons of new gear available. Let's talk about it. Because while there is no panic inside the organization yet, there are definitely questions. And those questions start with the offensive line. Following Washington's 17-13 preseason loss to the Detroit Lions, Daniels made an honest admission that immediately caught the attention of Commanders fans. When asked about the offensive line and its current state, Daniels didn't pretend everything was perfect. Instead, he admitted the unit is still a work in progress. For a quarterback who already missed significant time last season due to injuries, those words carry weight. A lot of weight. Daniels told reporters that the group is still trying to come together and that the hope is everything will be settled by week 1. That sounds reasonable on the surface. After all, it's preseason. Teams are experimenting, coaches are evaluating, players are rotating. But Commanders fans know why this feels different. Because protecting Jaden Daniels isn't just important, it's everything.
The entire direction of this franchise revolves around the young quarterback. When Daniels is healthy, Washington looks like a dangerous football team, capable of competing with anyone. When he isn't available, everything changes. And that reality became painfully obvious during the 2025 season. After leading Washington to an NFC Championship game appearance in his rookie year, Daniels entered 2025 with enormous expectations. Instead, injuries became the story. A knee issue, a hamstring problem, an elbow injury, multiple setbacks that limited him to just 7 games. The offense never looked the same. The magic disappeared. And now, as Washington prepares for a critical 2026 campaign, fans watch their franchise quarterback enter a preseason game against Detroit and immediately take a sack. It wasn't exactly the confidence boost anyone was hoping for. To be fair, Daniels only played 3 snaps. He handed the ball off, he threw 1 pass away, he absorbed a sack. Then, his day was over. No injury, no drama, mission accomplished. But the sequence highlighted a concern that has been quietly growing throughout training camp. Can this offensive line keep Jaden Daniels upright? That's the question everyone is asking. And right now, nobody has a definitive answer. The departure of Laramie Tunsil created a massive void. Replacing a player of that caliber is never easy. Tunsil wasn't just another offensive lineman. He was one of the league's premier blindside protectors. His presence gave Daniels security. His absence creates uncertainty. That's why Daniels' comments matter. He knows the importance of chemistry up front.
He understands that offensive line play isn't simply about talent. It's about communication, trust, timing, consistency. 5 players operating as one unit. And based on what we've seen so far, Washington is still searching for that cohesion. Throughout training camp and preseason action, coaches have rotated players across multiple positions. Right tackles have played left tackle. Guards have switched sides. Backups have received opportunities. From an evaluation standpoint, it makes sense. From a continuity standpoint, it's less ideal. You can't build chemistry if the lineup changes every day. Eventually, the Commanders will need to settle on their best 5 players and allow them to grow together. Week 1 is coming fast, and the first opponent isn't exactly forgiving. The Philadelphia Eagles, one of the most talented defensive fronts in football. A group capable of turning offensive line mistakes into game-changing plays. That's why the next few weeks are so critical. Washington must find answers quickly. However, there is another side to this story. Because while the offensive line remains a concern, there were also several encouraging developments against Detroit.
Let's start with rookie receiver Antonio Williams. Commanders fans have been waiting for someone to emerge in the crowded battle for receiver snaps behind Terry McLaurin and McLaurin-Diggs. Williams may have taken a significant step forward. The rookie caught 3 passes for 41 yards and consistently created separation throughout the game. What stood out wasn't just the production. It was the confidence, the timing, the reliability. Every time the ball came his way, he looked prepared. And in a position battle where every opportunity matters, Williams capitalized. Several coaches reportedly came away impressed with his performance. If he continues building momentum, he could become one of the biggest surprises on the roster. Another player generating excitement is Jaden Bradley. The young receiver flashed playmaking ability throughout the game and showcased impressive route running skills. One spectacular catch grabbed headlines, but the bigger takeaway was his ability to consistently get open. That's something coaches value, and it's something quarterbacks love. As the competition for roster spots intensifies, Bradley is making a strong case for himself. Meanwhile, another rookie continues turning heads on defense, Joshua Josephs. The 6th-round pick recovered a fumble for a touchdown after Amik Robertson forced a turnover early in the game. Josephs has been one of the pleasant surprises of camp. His explosiveness off the edge keeps showing up. His effort never stops. And his ability to pressure quarterbacks has become impossible to ignore. Washington drafted him as a developmental player, but if he continues performing like this, his development timeline could accelerate significantly. Speaking of defense, let's address another topic generating discussion among fans: Sonny Styles. The 7th overall pick received criticism from some observers after a few plays against Detroit. Frankly, much of that criticism appears overblown. Styles remains one of the most physically gifted defenders on the roster. He's still learning. He's still adapting. And the coaching staff is almost certainly keeping portions of his role hidden during preseason action. Dan Quinn has repeatedly praised his progress. Nothing that happened against Detroit should change that. In fact, Styles continues to look like exactly what Washington drafted him to be: fast, physical, explosive, versatile. Most importantly, he's already running with the first-team defense. That's not something teams do with players they don't trust. The bigger concern remains the offense, specifically the protection in front of Daniels. One area that drew attention was tight end pass blocking. John Bates struggled on a key play that resulted in Daniels taking a sack. Film sessions this week probably won't be enjoyable for that group. If Washington plans to survive against elite pass rushing teams, the tight ends must become reliable contributors in protection. They don't necessarily need to dominate, but they cannot become liabilities, especially when facing teams like Philadelphia. The coaching staff knows this. Expect significant emphasis on pass protection during upcoming practices. Another fascinating storyline developing is the quarterback competition behind Daniels. With Marcus Mariota dealing with injury concerns, the battle for QB3 suddenly became much more interesting. Ethan Kaliakmanis delivered arguably his strongest performance of the preseason. The 7th-round rookie completed 11 of 14 passes for 162 yards without taking a sack or throwing an interception. His arm talent stood out. His decision-making was impressive. And perhaps most importantly, he looked comfortable. Sam Hartman also had moments. But Kaliakmanis generated genuine buzz. If this continues, Washington could have a difficult decision to make. That's exactly the kind of competition coaches love to see. As we step back and evaluate the bigger picture, here's the reality. The Commanders are not panicking, nor should they be. Preseason results rarely determine regular season success. The coaching staff isn't worried about the final score against Detroit. They're focused on evaluations, development, preparation, and health. Most importantly, Jaden Daniels walked off the field healthy. That alone makes the day a success. Still, his comments about the offensive line should not be ignored. They're honest, they're realistic, and they highlight the biggest challenge facing this team before Week 1. The Commanders have talent, they have speed, they have weapons, they have defensive playmakers. But none of it matters if Daniels spends the season running for his life.
The next few weeks will determine whether Washington can solve that problem. And if they do, this team could be dangerous. Very dangerous. Because for months, fans wondered what would happen if the Commanders paired Terry McLaurin with Stephon Diggs. Would there be tension? Would there be competition for targets? Would two veteran stars be able to coexist in the same offense? Well, Terry McLaurin just gave fans the most revealing answer yet. And Commanders fans, what he said should have everyone excited. Rather than viewing Diggs as a threat, McLaurin sees him as something completely different. He sees him as a reflection of himself. During a recent appearance on the Commanders' Next Man Up program, McLaurin described his relationship with Diggs using a comparison that immediately caught attention throughout the fan base. He referenced the famous Spider-Man meme. You know the one. Two Spider-Men standing face to face, pointing at each other. According to McLaurin, that's exactly what it feels like when he looks across the field at Diggs. In his own words, we're the same guy on the field. That statement speaks volumes, because Terry McLaurin isn't talking about athletic ability alone. He's talking about mindset, work ethic, leadership, intensity, competitiveness, the characteristics that separate good players from elite ones. And perhaps for the first time in years, McLaurin believes he has another receiver in the room who approaches the game exactly the way he does. That matters more than people realize. Throughout his career, McLaurin has been the unquestioned leader of Washington's receiving corps. No matter who was at quarterback, no matter who lined up beside him, no matter how difficult the circumstances became, McLaurin consistently produced. He became one of the most respected players in the organization. He earned the nickname Scary Terry, and he built a reputation as one of the NFL's most professional wide receivers. Now, for the first time in a long time, he's sharing that spotlight with another established star. Stephon Diggs arrives in Washington with an impressive resume. 4 Pro Bowl selections, an All-Pro season, multiple 1,000-yard campaigns, years of experience performing on the biggest stages in football. Many teams would worry about potential clashes between two alpha personalities, but everything we're hearing suggests the exact opposite is happening. In fact, the competition between McLaurin and Diggs appears to be making both players better. And that's where this story becomes fascinating. According to McLaurin, the two veterans are constantly challenging one another during practice. Not in a negative way, not in a selfish way, in a productive way, a championship way. They're competing over details. Who creates more separation? Who finishes routes better? Who wins more one-on-one battles? Who maintains the highest level of consistency? Those are the kinds of competitions coaches love, because they elevate everyone around them. And if you're Jaden Daniels, you're probably smiling every time you step onto the practice field. Think about the position Daniels is in right now. Last season was filled with frustration. Injuries disrupted his momentum. The offense struggled to find consistency. Washington lacked reliable playmakers beyond McLaurin. Defenses often knew exactly where the ball was going. This year could look very different. Imagine a healthy Jaden Daniels operating with Terry McLaurin on one side and Stephon Diggs on the other. That's a nightmare scenario for opposing defensive coordinators. Double McLaurin, Diggs gets favorable coverage. Focus on Diggs, McLaurin finds space. Try to stop both, Washington attacks elsewhere. The ripple effect could transform the entire offense. And that's exactly why Diggs was such an important addition. For years, opposing defenses treated McLaurin as Washington's only true receiving threat. Not anymore. Now, defenses must account for 2 proven stars. That changes everything. But perhaps the most interesting part of McLaurin's comments was his honesty. He openly admitted that Diggs is helping him improve. Think about that. A 2-time Pro Bowler, one of the NFL's most respected receivers, a player already considered elite by many fans, and he's still looking for ways to get better. That's why McLaurin continues to earn so much respect throughout the league. He's never satisfied. He's never complacent. And according to him, Diggs has already helped him identify small details he can improve. One example stood out. McLaurin explained that Diggs emphasized finishing routes even after initially beating a defender. It sounds simple, But those details often determine the difference between a good play and a great play. The difference between a first down and a touchdown. The difference between winning and losing. Elite players obsess over details. And now Washington has two of them working together every day. That should excite every Commanders fan. What's also encouraging is how McLaurin described the overall receiver room. Because this isn't just about him and Diggs. It's about the entire group. Young players like Antonio Williams are fighting for opportunities. Luke McCaffrey continues developing. Jalen Lane is trying to carve out a role. Veterans are competing for roster spots. And according to McLaurin, Diggs' arrival has elevated everyone. He said the addition has raised both the floor and the ceiling of the room. That's exactly what Washington hoped would happen. The Commanders didn't bring Diggs in solely for statistics.
They brought him in to change the dynamic, to increase competition, to create accountability, to raise standards. Based on everything we're hearing from camp, that mission is already succeeding. Now, let's address the question many fans are wondering. Can there really be enough footballs to keep both stars happy? It's a fair concern. Both players have spent much of their careers serving as primary targets. Both expect the ball. Both believe they're capable of taking over games. That's natural. Great receivers are confident. They have to be. But there's an important difference between wanting the football and creating drama. So far, there is absolutely no indication of conflict. In fact, the relationship appears stronger than many expected. McLaurin repeatedly praised Diggs. Diggs has returned that respect publicly. The chemistry seems genuine. And perhaps most importantly, both players understand the bigger picture. Winning cures everything. If the Commanders are winning games, moving the football, and competing for playoff positioning, target distribution becomes much easier to manage. The real test will come once the regular season begins. There will be games where McLaurin dominates. There will be games where Diggs becomes the focal point. There will be weeks where defenses force the ball elsewhere. That's normal. The challenge will be maintaining the same team-first mentality when adversity arrives. Based on what we've seen so far, Washington feels confident that both veterans are mature enough to handle it. And honestly, they may have no choice. The NFC East remains one of the toughest divisions in football. Philadelphia is loaded. Dallas continues adding talent. The Giants are improving. Washington needs every advantage it can find. A motivated Terry McLaurin and a motivated Stephon Diggs pushing each other daily might become one of the biggest advantages on the roster. That's why this story matters. This isn't just about two receivers. It's about culture. It's about leadership. It's about building an offense capable of helping Jaden Daniels take the next step in his development. And if McLaurin's comments are any indication, that process is already underway. Instead of creating rivalry, Diggs may have created something even more dangerous. A partnership. One built on mutual respect, shared competitiveness, and a common goal. Bringing winning football back to Washington. Are you concerned about the offensive line after Jaden Daniels admitted it's still a work in progress? Do you believe Washington has enough talent up front to protect its franchise quarterback? And which young player has impressed you the most so far? Antonio Williams, Joshua Josephs, Sonny Styles, or someone else? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this Commanders update, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss breaking Washington Commanders news. Official Washington Commanders gear, fresh new drops, and exclusive items, all in the link below. Check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.